All right. Okay, thank you, Eric.
You're welcome. You're live now.
Okay. Let me get my desktop organized. Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Stakeholder Committee meeting on December 7th. We have actually lots of stuff to talk about today. So without further ado, let's see, Director Ragland, if you want to get started. Do I call you director? You're like an executive director. All right. We're going to go with that.
You can just call me Valerie.
Valerie. All right.
Yes.
Hello, Valerie. Let's get started.
Okay. We have 6 items actually on the agenda for today, and 4 of those items are coming from procurement and finance. So without further delay, I'll ask Ms. Cutter to begin her presentation.
Okay, good afternoon again, everyone. As Mrs. Ragland said, there are 4 items that I will be providing an overview of. The first is related to the electric bus rollout plan. And the action item is seeking approval to move forward with the issuance of an RFP prior to the approval and execution of the amendment of the FY21 5307 grant. As everyone knows, we are currently working towards electric bus rollout. We have trainers on site with training and with installation of technology equipment to support the gathering of data. And we need to move forward with a comprehensive rollout plan that will not only address training, but it would also address routing, effectiveness of the electric bus in comparison to the diesel bus, and help to facilitate and provide information for future fleet planning. Any question, Director and Minister?
The price tag on this is how much? Or like we're looking at close to around how much?
The plan itself, $250,000.
And for how long? They would be watching the buses for?
Well, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but just wanted to say that recently a staff person was hired to actually pull down the data once the bus gets rolled out, and to collect the data, and will be available to work with the consultant in analyzing the data. So whatever frequency the board determines is feasible to collect, gather, and report the data, as we work towards completing the RFP for the rollout plan, the language will govern the specifics of that.
Yes, I was going to add, Stephanie, that the RFP, once we develop the scope of the service to submit the RFP, we can include anything that we want to from from the consultant.
Yes.
Okay. And this will help us determine in the future how to think clearly on purchasing more electric infrastructure.
Yes, sir, definitely. Yes. Because not only is it going to, not only will we be analyzing data, we will be looking at the best possible places to place infrastructure, like for charging stations, where they should be placed in the area. What routes will the buses better be served on, being electric buses? How much of a charge can they carry during the day? That kind of thing as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the next item is an RFP for assistance with preparing the comprehensive operation analysis and the transit development plan prior to award and execution of the 21-5307 grant amendment. This is an urgent matter because the TDP is due in June of 22. We are seeking approval to move forward to fund with reserve funding. Once the grant is awarded and approved, the reserve funding will be replenished with grant funds.
And Director Edmiston, you might remember that this was one of those items that was mentioned in the meeting that we had with Chairman Ellis and on last week.
Mm-hmm.
That this was required by the NPO by June 30th. So
June 30th, got it.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. So we need to go ahead and issue the RFP so we can go ahead and receive those who are interested in performing this COA and a TDP, and we can get it all done before June.
By June.
So kind of just to like skip ahead a couple of these and bring the conversation forwards now, including the next one on the naval approval. It seems that kind of the pattern we're looking at is that we'll be using money that we've got now to begin moving on projects now.
That's correct.
As we foresee very, very high chances of these grant amendments to move through the system, which does take time, we've already begun working on them. And so using our emergency reserves, which are, as of this time, pretty good, better than they have been in the past.
Yes.
And I'm guessing what, I mean, like this looks to be like $250,000 or $750,000 total, something like that. Between these three, maybe more.
Yes.
Not a number to laugh at. That is definitely some monies, but it will definitely allow us to, when the grants do come in, then we replenish the fund.
Yes.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I mean, I feel like that's a risk that we can't afford not to take.
That's true.
Yes.
Cool, and it gets us started on some like good, good key core projects that, the not that one. God, there's so much scrolling. The TDP, is like huge. That's definitely something we need to be. Yeah, that's an important one.
Mm-hmm.
So I am in support of this one and the next one as well. The ferry vessels.
Yes, now with the ferry vessels, Director Edmiston, we can pull from SPLOST funds to fund the cost of consulting services for this particular project.
Great, that's even better. I like that.
Okay. Any other questions on the naval?
Let me just
engineering?
Read that again. No, so I mean, yeah, honestly, this is just, they're all getting us started on these projects.
And then the last is a contract.
I guess one question I've got is, in these studies with the TDP, of course, it doesn't make any sense that anybody from the board is going to be that involved with an engineering consultant engineering study. The TDP one, though, is that how involved is anybody except for the staff and the consultants? Is that an open process, or is that more of a closed process?
Well, it'll be similar to what we did prior with the Let's Go project. It'll be a similar type of plan, and it will require some participation from the board and from the community.
I mean, that was a big project. Is this and you're saying that we've got till June to do this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then that is interesting. And that was a huge project.
It was. Now, it's very similar in that the TDP will provide direction for the agency for the next, I think, 5 years or 10 years, whatever we decide the TDP is going to do. But the Let's Go project was specific in route realignment. So it won't be as in-depth as the Let's Go project was, but the TDP is required to give the agency some direction for the next few years. And it might be going toward that realignment, but that's what we need to have it.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. All
But
right.
there will be some involvement. There will be involvement it won't be just from the consultant.
Mhm.
They will need to ask questions of the board. They probably need to have some communications with the public as well, have some public meetings too, so.
Okay, very cool.
And the last item is a request for a 2-year contract extension with Infinity. The existing contract ends December 31st of this year. Currently, we lease servers from Infinity. The 2 years will allow CAT staff to make decisions on where we go from there after the 2-year period. CAT staff, along with the board, this will be an item of discussion as to whether or not we procure servers that will belong to CAT, both for storage and to support software that CAT currently uses.
That makes sense. I know we had spoken previously on bringing in house some of these IT
Yes.
things, and I think in the meantime, I mean, if we're able to just procure services from them, that's a very simple and elegant solution.
Okay.
Hey, Ms.
Is that
Ragland.
it? That's it. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you,
you.
Stephanie. Very cool. Excited.
Thank you,
Go
sir.
spend some money.
Yes, we're excited to get moving on some of these projects that have just been kind of remains like a stalled, if you will,
Mhm.
because the funding wasn't there. So we are really excited about moving some of these forward. Really are. But the next item on the agenda is the standing committee structures revision. And I don't think of it really as a revision, more so than a realignment with those divisions that we have within the agency. So we did send the initial draft to legal. They've looked over it. What was sent to you, they're fine with it. But we're asking each director to look at it, to read it, to make any comments or suggestions so that we can send those comments or suggestions to legal for a final draft. And the chairman has already reviewed the document, and he will be reaching out to each director to speak about the assignments of the committees.
Cool.
Okay. And the final item is really not, well, it is an action item because the board has always voted on it, but it's just a routine calendar for the second half of the fiscal year. And that will be placed on the agenda for a vote from the board. And that's it.
And that's just our
Just your regular meeting times for the rest of the year, January through June.
brilliant. Those are always helpful. Okay, cool. And that's all.
Yes, sir. That's all we have on as agenda items that might be considered for the consent agenda. The item listed at number 4 under old or new business, the harassment, discrimination, and retaliation policy. We put this as a placeholder because we're hoping to bring it to the board, not in December, but in January possibly. We are continuing to assess our policies, and this is one that we know certainly needs some revisions in it. for the protection of the agency. So we wanted to make the board aware that we are in the process of reviewing it and making some suggested changes or revisions. And if it's not ready for governance, then it'll be possibly placed on the agenda for the January meeting.
Oh my God, it just left my brain. Okay, that sounds great. I do think I won't be able to make the December 20th board meeting, but I will be at the government's meeting.
Okay. Okay.
Director Emisar, I don't know if it'll make a difference. I'm sorry, but it's actually December the 21st.
Same thing.
Same thing, okay.
Yeah. I'll be up in Alaska visiting parents. And
Oh,
hopefully I survive, but I probably won't. So
of
it's way
course
too-
you will. That's great. That's great. That's what holidays are for.
freezing.
Family.
Okay. If you say so. It's so cold up there. All right. Well, yeah, thank you, everybody. And yeah, okay. I'll see you guys in December. I'll probably have more questions in the governance committee, but this is helpful for just getting it all downloaded now.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
All right. Y'all be well. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.